The people of Egypt are the inheritors of the pharaohs, kings who built with eternity in mind. Creating something that has endured across the centuries. Their legacy is the Egyptian heart. Forged in adversity in the desert, nourished on the fertile banks of the Nile. It's generous because it knows hardship. It's self-assured because it knows history. There have been Egyptians and in Egypt for 5,000 years. The people whose land this is now, all 80 million of them, are bound together, a family. They share honor and discipline, joy, hope, and acceptance. This is their Egypt, their country, through their eyes. Egyptians know their country as the mother of the world. In Cairo, 17-year-old Ali lives among the chaotic crowds of Africa's largest city. "200 miles south, Brother Ephraim leaves modern life to join the world's oldest Christian monastery. Everywhere they turn, Egyptians see their ancestors. For Mansour Bourek, each day reveals new secrets from their history. Across the desert, in a remote oasis, Khadija Nenni lives by customs that keep her hidden from view. At the same time, in the capital, Yasmin Shihetta wants to show the face of modern Egypt. Where the two continents meet on the Sinai Peninsula, Dr. Ahmed is the last custodian of his ancestors' healing knowledge. Each of these people has their own Egypt, a place of change and constancy, of sudden chaos and serene calm. These are their stories. Each day, Cairo is woken by the call to prayer. Echoing from 1,000 minarets, it summons the faithful to worship. This first wave of sound builds to a roar as 18 million people start 18 million days. Among them, Ali Abdel Fattah Mohammed, a master of Cairo's streets and alleyways. He delivers bread, fresh from the oven, all over the old city.
If you're experienced, it's as if there are no obstacles in your way, and there's no traffic. But the job's really hard, coming and going with the bread and carrying everything on my head. By the end of the day, my neck's killing me.
Ali works 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. But this is one of the toughest days of the year. It's the beginning of Ramadan. Along with 90% of the population, he's fasting. For Muslims, Ramadan is the most sacred time of the year. For 1 month, they do not eat or drink from sunrise to sunset. Not even a sip of water may pass their lips. But they must still find time and energy each day for both work and worship. Then, when evening prayers are over, the fast is broken with feasting known as iftar. For most of Cairo, Ramadan is a time of celebration. But for Ali, it's the busiest time of the year. The more feasting there is, the more bread he delivers.
I wait for Ramadan to come around every year because work is good. I can earn up to $6 a day delivering bread on the bike. I live off $1 and save the rest for my family.
Ali was 7 years old when he came to Cairo. His parents sent him alone from their small village in the south. That was 10 years ago. Ever since, he has been the family's chief earner.
They need money. If it wasn't for me, they'd have to borrow from people. That's why I have to work hard, so they're not indebted to anyone.
When Ramadan is over, Ali plans to return home. It will be the first time he's seen his 8 brothers and sisters in a year. He wants to leave knowing he's earned enough for his family to get by. The more he delivers, the more he gets paid. And to earn the $6 he needs each day, the bread has to be delivered warm. Part acrobat, part salesman, Ali carries the fortune of the bakery on his head. One slip, and he won't get paid.
When you're learning to deliver on the bike, you bump into everyone and everything. But when you get confident, you can go anywhere you want. It's easy.
The alleyways that surround the bakery are some of the busiest in the world. Here, up to 700,000 people pack into each square mile. It was a bewildering world for the 7-year-old Ali.
When I first came to Cairo, I got lost for 2 days. I only had the bakery address with me. I was 7. I cried a lot as I walked lost through the streets. Then a man helped me and stayed with me until he found the address and delivered me to the bakery.
Ali is one of 24 boys in the bakery, all working as hard as they can. If the next month goes well, he will fulfill his duty to his family, and then he can return home with his head held high. For over 4,000 years, the might of ancient Egypt's rulers has resonated across the nation and the world. The pharaohs built to ensure that their names would be remembered for all time. And today, their monuments still dominate their land. Nowhere in Egypt has as many ancient monuments as the city of Luxor. Once the pharaoh's ceremonial capital, it is now the richest archaeological territory on the planet. Here, the giant temple complex of Karnak was constructed over a period of 1,300 years by 30 pharaohs. Built on the east bank of the Nile, the ancient Egyptians believed Luxor to be the land of the living. Across the river, the west bank was the land of the dead. This is where the pharaohs constructed their sacred burial ground, the Valley of the Kings. Carved into solid rock, Tutankhamun and at least 50 other pharaohs sunk their tombs deep underground. Inside, elaborate hieroglyphs provided the dead with knowledge to help them on their passage into the afterlife. Their treasures were buried with them to impress their gods. Egyptologists have studied these tombs and their contents for almost 200 years. But just half a mile away, 600 more tombs remain unexplored. They're hidden beneath the village of Gourna. Villagers first built homes above tombs here at least 300 years ago. Most simply used the tomb's chambers as living space. Some profited from the treasures they found. As the village grew, the tombs became more and more deeply hidden. They were almost forgotten. Only now are they being properly explored. Mansour Bourek is one of Egypt's top archaeologists. Ahmed Abdel Rasoul's family lives above one of the biggest tombs in the village. Its safekeeping has been a matter of family honor for generations.
كنت عايش كنا نايم هنا بقى ولا بتنام هنا؟
نناموا هنا
والله جوه
والله
المقبرة؟
والله
جوه المقبرة؟
جوه المقبرة في الصيف ده هواء طبيعي
والله العظيم
والله العظيم في الشتاء دفى
لكن الحمد لله ما حدش كسر منها
لا 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 انا دي ده في عندي انا
طب اتفضل يا محمد
اتفضل
Ahmed understands the importance of the tomb. In 1881, his grandfather made one of archaeology's most significant finds: 40 mummies hidden nearby in one underground chamber. They now have pride of place in Cairo's Egyptian Museum. One is the body of Egypt's great pharaoh, Ramses II. Beneath Ahmed's house, the tomb's entrance extends into two much larger chambers. Their floor is higher than in ancient times, raised by thousands of years of accumulated dust. The tomb's former glory is obscured, but they can still see the reason why it was built.
ده كبيرة. ايه ده يا محمد دي؟
دي موميا
موميا؟
موميا
الصدر اللي كان بيبقى عليه اللي هو الجعرين والتمام كانت بتبقى على منطقة الصدر دي. لكن هي الموميا ما نعرفش بقى هل سيدة أو راجل، دي هتبان لما تتفحص كويس. هو الموميا دي بقايا الموميا بتبين.
The remains of this mummy show that the tomb was looted at some point in the past.
بس منظر
The way the skeleton is broken tells me that whoever found it intentionally targeted the chest, because that is where the body would have been decorated with priceless jewelry.
اللي بتبقى جوارن القلب وكده في الحاجات اللي كانت بتتباع.
شكرا عفوا
Mansour has seen enough to know that there is more to be uncovered. These tombs may be as important as any yet found.
This is one of the most important sites we have in Egypt. There are major gaps in our understanding of the pharaohs and their ruling families. We believe these tombs can unlock some of these secrets.
The price for unlocking their secrets may be the eviction of living families. At least 3,000 people could see their houses demolished. Ahmed, like most of them, doesn't want to go. He lives with his children, and their home is the center of their life.
I am the fourth generation of the Abdel Rasul family to live here. 4 generations to be born and raised in this house. That's why it's so dear to us.
Ahmed believes that the care his family has bestowed on the tomb earns them the right to continue as its guardians. But many in the village have already given up and left. Their empty homes are being torn down. Others have been served notice. They have 1 month to move to a newly built village nearby.
I've had to explain to people that they are living on top of Egypt's treasures. And then I've had to convince them to leave because each tomb is a page in the history of our ancient country.
The tombs are too important, too valuable, and too delicate to be used as homes.
بس علي هو التكسير كل ده جديد صح؟
ايوه هو المفروض المقبره طبعا كانت عشان عليها الملاط طبقه الملاط ولكن الظاهر التكسير الحديث ده لما الناس مشيت طبعا الناس وزود يعني تول زي عصايه او اي
لا 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 دي اجنه
مساحتها واحده صح
شايف؟
نفس عرض
بوظ النقوش كلها.
Though Mansour has seen this evidence, it's still hard to disturb a way of life that's centuries old. In their fields below the village, Ahmed and his sons harvest clover, just as their family has done for 4 generations. Tomorrow, the regional governor will consider their case. He must balance the future of these people against their country's past. It is decision day for Ahmed and his family. The governor arrives with Mansour to inspect the tomb below Ahmed's house. Many villagers are in the same situation. Emotions are running high.
قدمت طلب؟ جبته باشا. هات فين الطلب؟ ماشي خلاص يلا. ربنا ينجيك. خلاص يا سيدي. يعليكم يا رب. خلاص ماشي. الحمد لله والشكر لله وبركة جدنا الشيخ عبد الرحمن معانا. نطلع نشوف البتاع ده المنطقة بتاعتنا.
The governor of Luxor is the one who decides which houses get demolished in Gorna.
قاعدين نلعب فيه وكل حاجة وجميل خالص ما نقدرش ننسوه خالص. أنا اللي أسمع أنا متجوزة عاوزة نجي نقعد فيه أنا وعيالي هنا وإخواننا دول عاوزين نقعد تاني فيه يعني جميل خالص وغالي علينا ما نقدرش نطلع منه.
It's Mansour's job to show just how important this find is. Yet he knows every word dents Ahmed's hope that he and his family will be allowed to stay.
دي مقبرة الكهنة كان 26 وأكبر مقبرة اتعملت للكهنة. والله؟
مكان بداية العيلة هنا موجود، يعني بداية العيلة هنا موجودة فيه، يعني أصل سرك وعيلتك ودمك وتربيتك والأرض اللي أنت نمت عليها مش هتسيبها بالسهولة، إنه شيء منه عبارة عن الدم اللي بيجي في العروق بتاع كل واحد. فعلا يا أخي.
كلام لا يمكن حد يقبله. إن إحنا نخش نلاقي مقبرة بالمنظر ده ومتسابة.
Shocked by the condition of the tomb, the governor delivers his final verdict.
لكن المقبرة دي مش بتاعتك. امال هو بتاعت الدولة. انت تتكلم على البيت اللي انت ساكن فيه. بس
حافظ عليها ولا؟
تحافظ وماله؟ خلاص
حافظ عليها للدولة.
انما انت ليك عندنا البيت اللي انت قاعد فيه نديك بيت بس. خلاص؟ ده اللي نتكلم عليه.
A piece of ancient history will be preserved. But the family traditions of Ahmed Abdul Rasul are eclipsed forever. One month later, the once hidden tomb has become the focus of one of Egypt's busiest archaeological digs. "45 locals have shifted close to 80 tons of dirt and debris, each bucket carefully checked for the smallest of artifacts. In the entrance, they've uncovered immaculate artwork, beautifully preserved. It suggests that this was the tomb of someone important.
This tomb is very important for us. We know it's very important, and we expect to find a lot of things in it after we've cleaned it.
Experts in restoration reverse centuries of neglect using distilled water to uncover the original artwork. Already, they found hieroglyphs that reveal the owner of the tomb, a noblewoman who died 3,000 years ago.
This has been a dream come true for us archaeologists. There are so many gaps in ancient Egyptian history that we hope to understand by uncovering these magnificent tombs.
The waters of the Nile are the lifeblood of Egypt. Most of the country sees less than an inch of rain each year. So this river, the world's longest, traveling over 4,000 miles, has always had an extraordinary power. For millennia, its pattern of flooding set the rhythm by which Egyptians lived. The pharaohs were the first to build gauges along its banks. They measured the river's height twice daily to see what it would bring. Too much water brought destruction. Too little brought drought. The right amount brought fertility to the land and promised a good harvest. Now, dams regulate the flow of the Nile. They have harnessed some of its power to generate electricity. And yet, they've not tamed it. At a rate of 700,000 gallons per second, it pours endlessly north. Without it, there would be no Egypt. Away from the Nile, the only source of water in Egypt is its desert oases. The most remote of all, deep in the western desert, is Siwa. For over 3,000 years, this oasis has been supplied with a stream of fresh water from an immense underground reservoir. Rising up from 1.5 miles underground, its water flows all year round. This small town owes everything to the oasis. Isolated throughout time, its 30,000 people speak their own language and follow their own customs. To other Egyptians, it feels like a different country. In the town center, in its shops, along its streets, there are only men. From the first day of their marriage, Siwan women are concealed from the public world and live by customs thousands of years old. Khadija Nanni, a married mother of 5, has lived with Siwa's rules all her life. Like other Siwan women, she chooses not to leave her home.
When a Siwan woman wants to do anything outside the house, she has to ask permission from her husband. She has to take his permission the night before, not just before she leaves. If he says yes, then it's okay. But if he says no, then that's it.
For most Siwan women, the walls of their home are the limits of their world. The rules they choose to live by have not been set out by religion or Egyptian law, but by their community.
It's the tradition of our families. We have to adhere to it, we have to follow it. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're frustrated. That's the way it is. It's our way of life.
عايزين خضار يا جابر.
خضار ايه؟
طماطم وبطاطس.
Like all Siwan women, Khadija cannot go out to shop. She must send her husband Gaber to buy groceries.
والصابون لوازم
ما عندك صابون
ما خلصناها الأسبوع اللي فات. أحيانا لما يلخبط.
Sometimes when he messes up the shopping list and I need the item urgently, there is nothing I can do. It's frustrating. Actually, it is extremely frustrating.
مش تضايق وبس.
هات خصم خلاص.
جلاتي.
انت عايز جلاتي؟
جلاتي ومصاصة وكلاتيه.
انا كله؟
ايوه. عشان سخا بابا خسيخة بابا.
Gaber is an outsider in Siwa. Born and raised in southern Egypt, he first came here as a young man to work as a builder. When he married Khadija, he married into the Siwan way of life.
No women go out. Customs and traditions dictate this. But I feel this is wrong. Women should be able to go out even if just for enjoyment or for a change of scenery. But then, what can you do?
عارفين يعني الكلام ده بس كيلو حط ولا كيلو ونص.
But there is one place where Siwan women are allowed some freedom. Nearly every family owns a palm tree garden where they grow dates that are famous across Egypt, a source of immense pride as well as income. It is part of the home, yet separate from it. Getting there requires careful preparation.
When a Siwan woman is allowed to go out, she has to wear a dark jalabiya, cover her face and wear a shawl over her clothes. No part of her body must show. It's the way it is here.
وتلبس مؤاخذة حاجة على لازم بالشراب.
And if a woman doesn't wear all this, she won't feel happy with herself.
Today is the beginning of a new farming season, and Khadiga's extended family is traveling with her to the garden to celebrate. The water that feeds the palm trees is channeled from a spring 1 mile away. Its flow is rationed to just 3 hours per week. Water is Siwa's most precious commodity. On arrival at the garden, the town's social rules can be left behind. It's the one place outside home where men and women, girls and boys can all interact together.
It's my garden, mine, not someone else's, so I'm at ease. I can take off my veil, roll up my sleeves, and start working. It's normal, because there are no strangers here.
The irrigation channels have been dry for 3 months. They're choked with weeds. It's the men's job to clear them before the water arrives, and in this garden, they take their orders from a woman.
They do what they are told, because I have fun with them. Things don't get done by shouting. You've got to get them used to working with women from a young age.
With the first rush of water comes the hope of a good harvest in 9 months' time.
When the water flows through the garden, I feel happiness, as though I was the one drinking.
This supply of water is the lifeblood of this tiny desert community. Without it, nothing would survive. The next day, back at home, the normal pattern of life seems to have resumed. But Khadija has received bad news.
عرفت إني خالتي تعبانة في المستشفى يا عزة؟
هي مالها؟ عندها إيه؟
والله بيقولوا عندها أزمة بتاخد الجهاز التنفسي.
After Khadiga's mother died, her aunt raised her. They've been especially close ever since.
لا بقالها زمان غير يعني حالتها بتزيد شوي شوي على الكبر.
With her husband's permission, Khadiga leaves to visit her beloved aunt in a hospital on the other side of town. According to tradition, she's accompanied by a male family member, this time her 12-year-old nephew.
In the old times, when a woman was very ill, her loved ones would go far into the desert to collect some sand, which they believed would bring blessings. When they returned, they would tie the sand in the woman's veil.
Khadiga dreams of making this journey for herself. In living memory, no Siwan woman has ever ventured out into the desert. Now, to help her aunt, she plans on becoming the first. Outside of the home, men run Egyptian society. They hold 98% of the seats in government and are considered the providers of their families across the nation. Women are idealized as wives and mothers, but have always been celebrated for their beauty. Belly dancing is one of Egypt's most ancient art forms. Before the time of Cleopatra, women danced for each other and their families. Their dress was all covering. Only a scarf around their hips accentuated their movement. Across the nation, society expects women to embrace modesty, and there are few who don't happily comply. Some 90% of Egyptian women wear a head covering, their clothes an everyday expression of their beliefs. But there are some women who still seek to forge a new modern Egypt and a new role for themselves. Yasmin Shihetta is challenging long-held views about what Egyptian women can and cannot do. She's the creator and publisher of Egypt's best-selling women's lifestyle magazine, Enigma.
Egyptian society as a whole is very conservative, and it's actually getting more conservative. Most Egyptian girls are raised to feel that the be-all and end-all of their life is getting married and finding the right husband. We want to offer a new kind of role model for the Egyptian society.
Yasmin was born in Egypt and studied in Britain and the United States. She's one of a rare breed of Egyptian businesswomen who owns her own company.
It worked out well for a while.
In the US, 41% of private companies are owned by women. In Egypt, the figure is 20%.
At the beginning, it was really a fight to be taken seriously and to go to a meeting and have the meeting stay focused on business or what I was there to discuss. It's a very patriarchal society, and so that's, I think, is a battle I'm going to have to fight. for most of my life.
This month, Yasmin's publishing a special wedding edition of Enigma. She's targeting wealthy readers, Egypt's top 1% who spend the most, but she also wants the magazine to have a much wider appeal.
يمكن حاجة just كده lying كده حاجة كده.
She's persuaded one of Egypt's most famous actresses, another Yasmin, to pose for the front cover. Yasmin Abdelaziz is the nation's sweetheart. Today, she's agreed to be photographed as she's never been seen before.
I wanted the look to be like a bit angelic and like very natural and fresh.
We do not feature veiled women on our covers. Our magazine is Western in the sense that our covers have to look slick and beautiful and be very well photographed.
Yasmin Abdelaziz will be shown baring her shoulders and wearing a dress that hugs her figure. In a country where the number of women wearing the veil is on the rise, this is a challenging statement.
We've become famous for transforming celebrities and giving them a more glamorous, modern image. That's in our aim to expand our readership and sort of become an aspirational magazine for anybody who's interested in seeing what's the modern side of Egypt.
This is not bad,
This
yeah.
is a nice one.
That is nice.
What number is that?
065.
Again, Yasmin, I think we have too many social pages.
Yasmin lives in central Cairo with her mother and grandmother. Since the first issue, they've been some of the magazine's toughest critics.
We need to reduce the social pages.
Okay, you have to understand the clients all want to be put in the social pages.
I know.
People love to see themselves, they love to see celebrities. We have to do what the market
but
wants.
we really have to try to reduce that and have more features.
Yeah, mommy, that's commercial suicide.
Commercials.
It is. That's what people love.
Yasmin knows better.
Yeah.
Yasmin is this kind of personality. She has a vision and she goes after it. There are so many young Egyptians who are well educated and they want to have Egypt integrated with the world. So this is the market for Yasmin's magazine.
Tonight, Yasmin is hosting an exclusive party for Enigma's clients, Egypt's high society. She's counting on her celebrity cover star to shine as guest of honor.
No. Tell her for tonight, for the party. Make sure she gets dressed up. Soiree, yani. She has to look like a star. Parties and entertaining and going out are very much part of our society. And throwing the right parties with the right people is key. Okay, great. So I think when the VIPs come, you'll be at the entrance, and then if you can take them up, and we'll make this the VIP section. Can we have a bodyguard or somebody here in case it gets crazy? Somebody that can kind of manage the flow in and out?
You won't be able to manage anything.
Nothing.
When you have 200 people here, you don't manage.
And tonight, the eyes of the city's elite will be watching Yasmin. Her magazine's success was built on her contacts. She cannot afford to let them down. Within a couple of hours, everybody who's anybody in Cairo is here. Yasmin's guests are some of the key decision makers in the nation. She needs their approval and support. These are the people that can make change happen.
Anything I can do to improve the image of Egypt and of Egyptian women and Egyptian society is really where I can make a difference in my life, especially at a time when the image of the Middle East is just getting worse and worse and worse. I think it's so important that people see my Egypt, my Arab world.
Finally, Yasmin's cover star arrives, and it's the publicity coup she was hoping for. The next week, Enigma's special wedding edition becomes a best-selling issue. The magazine is starting to influence a whole new generation of Egyptian women. On the other side of Cairo, Ali is racing to make a delivery before midday. During Ramadan, the entire city stops to pray at 12 noon. In the center of Old Cairo is Al-Azhar Mosque, the spiritual heart of Egypt for over 1,000 years. This is where Ali answers the call to prayer. During this month of prayer, Muslims are expected to refrain from lying, anger, envy, and greed. It's a time for self-improvement.
If a Muslim sleeps hungry and his neighbor is aware of this, in the eyes of Allah, they are held responsible for him. As Allah says, be united in good deeds and faith, not in bad deeds. This creates an atmosphere of love and harmony and eliminates hatred and envy from the poor towards the rich. When we give to charity, the poor pray for us instead of envying us.
The Imam's words speak directly to Ali and to the others at the bakery. Together, they contribute to one of Cairo's oldest traditions. Each evening during Ramadan, charity tables are set up for those who cannot afford to buy food. Bread the bakery could have sold is instead given to the needy. In Cairo, where at least 20% of the population lives beneath the poverty line, these meals are a very real blessing.
In Ramadan, when someone brings food, he'll ask others to join him, and they'll eat together. There's no such thing as asking someone to pay.
After fasting together, the city eats together. Safe in knowing that during Ramadan, at least, no one will go without. In the country's south, near to the city of Aswan, another blessing. A Nubian wedding. The Nubian people's history and tradition can be traced to the dawn of civilization. Today, their wedding celebrations are famous for lasting up to 40 days. The entire community takes part, their all-night party culminating when the bride and groom anoint each other with henna and become man and wife. Next day, the cycle of worship and prayer begins again. While Islam is Egypt's main religion, some 10% of the population is Christian. And this ancient country is home to the oldest of the Christian faiths. This is Coptic Christianity, its name derived from the Greek word for Egypt. In a remote valley some 70 miles from the Red Sea, the world's oldest active monastery, St. Anthony's. There have been monks here for 1600 years who emulate their patron saint and follow his teachings. They believe in simplicity, self-denial, and above all, the power of prayer. The 100 monks who live here pray for 10 hours each day, attending their first Mass at 4 a.m. Singing hymns in the ancient Coptic language, their voices carry melodies that can be traced back to Pharaonic chants. Each year, hundreds of men apply to join the monastery as novices. Only 3 are accepted. This year, Brother Ephraim is one of them. But if he's to become a monk, he must still prove his devotion.
Since I was a child, I admired the appearance of monks, but that was all I knew. The idea, the feeling, the notion of living close to God always appealed to me.
When Brother Ephraim was accepted as a novice 6 months ago, he didn't tell his family. He left without saying goodbye.
My family didn't know that I wanted to join the monastery. I said to myself that I'm not going to tell anyone, because I was sure that there would be a lot of issues.
At his family's home in central Cairo, Ephraim's mother still hasn't come to terms with what he's done.
I don't know why he left the monastery. He wasn't missing anything in his life. He was loved by all and is still loved.
Brother Ephraim was a psychology graduate who ran his own publishing business. Like most unmarried Egyptians, he lived at home with his parents.
On normal days, when he'd go to work, he'd say goodbye, and I'd look from the balcony and find him. The day he left, I looked from the balcony and didn't find him. I couldn't see him.
It was the decision of Father Mankarios to accept Brother Ephraim. After living in the monastery for 35 years, he knows what it takes to become a monk.
He must be a person capable of living away from home, a person who does not have strong attachments to his own family members, because that will make him give up and prevent him from completing his training.
2 hours' walk above the monastery is the cave where Saint Anthony is said to have lived as a hermit. All novices make the 4-hour pilgrimage each day to pray there at dusk. Father Mankarios accompanies them, on the lookout for proof that their commitment is strong enough.
I need to figure out his disposition. He might be a young man who is running away from problems. He could be someone who has asked for a girl's hand in marriage and been refused. He could be a person who has failed in life and wants to hide in the monastery. We must see that he wishes from the bottom of his heart to lead the monastic life and that he loves God.
It's said that Anthony battled the devil here, that his faith was tested with temptation. For the novices, it's an overwhelming experience. This is where the way of life they aspire to began.
Visiting the cave of St. Anthony's means so much to me. To stand in the place where the founder of monasticism lived, imagine the emotions I feel there. Just imagine.
To be considered for priesthood, Brother Ephraim must eventually cut off all ties with his family. Only then will he exchange white robes for black and, according to Coptic belief, become one of God's angels on earth. There are some monks who strive to be even closer to God and choose to live in complete isolation. Father Lazarus is the ardent disciple that Ephraim aspires to emulate one day.
In the monastery, the monks love each other, live with each other, share with each other, support each other, and pray. But in the desert, you face all the demons who attack you as you are sinful yourself, so that you are trying to come closer to God Himself. It's a spiritual struggle of a different kind than the one that you face in the monastery. If the young novices can see monks like myself and others who live here struggling to rework the life of St. Anthony in our own lives, then they feel encouraged.
For the monks of St. Anthony's, each new day offers the chance to get closer to God. This day, however, is more blessed than most. It is the feast of the Epiphany, the celebration of the baptism of Jesus. It's one of 5 days in the year when the entire monastic community worships together during a mass that lasts 3 hours. For the novice monks, it's a joyous initiation into the world they wish to join. But it's also a huge test of will. This is the first time their families have been allowed to visit. As the doors to the outside world are reopened, so are the wounds of separation.
I miss my family quite a lot. This happens because they are part of me. I can't forget my family in a matter of months. It will take years and years for me to forget them.
From all over Egypt, family and friends come together to pray in this sacred place and spend a few minutes with their loved ones. Brother Ephraim joins the procession of icons through the congregation. His mother watches as he moves closer. Showing no sign of recognition, he walks straight past.
He now sleeps next to God. Long ago, he slept in my arms, and I carried him in my heart. He was my whole life.
As the Mass ends, the monks wait in line to receive the bishop's blessing. It's the first time Brother Ephraim publicly takes his place amongst them. For him, it's the start of a new life. For his mother, it's an ending. He will not be coming home.
الحمد لله على السلامة. الحمد لله على السلامة. الحمد لله على السلامة. الحمد لله على السلامة. الله يسلمك. الحمد لله على السلامة.
ما هو جورج عمره ما يتنسى. Even though he's now Brother Ephraim, he will always be my George, even if he reaches the highest rank in the church. He's so very dear to me. He's blessed us.
20 يوم. يلا تعال عشان تعالوا يلا تعالي.
To claim his place in the monastery, Brother Ephraim has given up everything he once held dear. While his actions have brought them pain, his parents part from him with as much pride as sorrow.
مين جورج ده؟ مين جورج ده؟
From Egypt's southern border with Sudan, the Nile flows north through the sands of the western desert, and it teems with life. Crocodiles compete with fishermen, eagles follow its line, and for most of its length, there are people. 95% of all Egyptians live along its banks. They drink its water. It feeds their crops, and since the beginning of recorded history, it has brought the country its wealth. Today, in the city of Aswan, the Nile's traditional feluccas ferry tourists. Once, they carried grain, stone, sugarcane, and gold. The pharaohs carved their monuments from stone, but they founded an empire on what the Nile provided. It's more than 4,000 miles long and travels through 8 other countries, but the Nile is Egypt's river. In the desert oasis of Siwa, school children parade through the main square in traditional clothes to celebrate the start of the farming season. It's their biggest event of the year, but Khadiga's daughter Iman is running late. What should be a happy day is shaded by sadness. Overnight, Khadiga's aunt has become critically ill.
ممكن تاخديها في ايدك لما هناك تغطي بيها ارفع في النص يعني الوحده تعبانه نوقف.
When a woman is sick, I will stand by her. If I'm sick, I know other women will stand by me too. Circumstances make things as they are.
الظروف ما تسمحش برضه. يلا يلا ايمان هيا بنتي مستعجله وتتاخر. يلا يا جابر يلا قوام بسرعه بس. يلا علشان تلحق. يلا يلا وديها بالعجله.
At 12, Iman and her girlfriends are able to move freely, but not for long. By 17, most Siwan girls are married. From their wedding day onward, nearly all take on the traditional lifestyle of their mothers. In a last bid to help her aunt, Khadija has decided to make a pilgrimage into the desert. She wants to collect pure sand, once trusted by her ancestors to hold healing powers. Although a journey of less than 2 miles, it is one no Siwan woman has made in living memory.
We've been living all our lives here in Siwa, but I've never seen the desert. We've never been there. We don't know anything about it. We've heard that it's beautiful, but that's all.
ما نعرفوش حاجة عنها.
In this community where women must ask permission to leave their own homes, Khadiga's trip into the desert is a brave act.
من الصحراء نبير واحد كترخت السي شاء الله قال.
Khadija's aunt had been close to death, but 2 weeks after the visit, news comes that she has made a recovery which astonishes her doctors. She can return home. As far from the Nile River as Siwa is Egypt's Red Sea coast. Home to the nation's newest sport, kite surfing. Harnessing strong wind under year-round sun, Egypt's kite surfers enjoy one of the world's best locations to reach speeds of up to 45 miles per hour. Once virtually uninhabited, the Red Sea coast draws as much tourist attention as the nation's pharaonic relics. Generating $3 billion a year to the nation's economy, this coastline is one of Egypt's key resources. Across Egypt, Ramadan, the month-long cycle of prayer and fasting, will end today. Tomorrow, families will come together to celebrate Eid, the most joyous festival of the Muslim year. And Ali will go home.
If I haven't saved enough money and can't take enough back from my family, I won't feel like going home to the village at all.
Ali is nearly there. He has one more day's work at the bakery before he can return home. Everything depends on this, the busiest, toughest, most lucrative day of the year. The city will shut down for 3 days, so all of Cairo is stocking up on bread. The city prepares to celebrate. People buy gifts and decorate the alleyways. Tonight, inside specially erected tents, there will be 10-course feasts. Bread in Cairo is called aish, the same word that means life. For the bakery boys, it's all they've known for every waking moment of the past month. Sunset marks the end of Ramadan and what for Ali has been a month-long endurance race. He's won. He and his workmates can finally sit down to their own feast. Like the other boys, Ali has spent his youth working 7 days of the week and fending for himself. This is the one time of the year when work stops. Tomorrow, at long last, he'll see his family. vast continents of Africa and Asia are linked by Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. Its dramatic mountains were the setting of the Old Testament. Mount Sinai still commands the landscape. Over the millennia, a nomadic people have made the desert their home, the Bedouin. Their very name means inhabitants of the desert. For generations, they followed their herds, owning only what their camels could carry. Once 300,000 strong, only 22,000 Bedouins remain today. For them, the Sinai Desert offers everything they need to survive. Dr. Ahmed is the last of his kind. He's the only surviving Bedouin healer in the Sinai Peninsula. 67 years old, he walks over 10 miles a day to remote communities with no access to hospitals or modern medicine.
As a doctor, you must love people, and they will love you. If sick patients go to a doctor, they can get better from his demeanor. The way he sits, the way he speaks, they heal.
Dr. Ahmed's treatments are unique. He makes all his medicines himself from rare herbs and plants he gathers in the desert. He treats everything from cancer to infertility, from acne to broken bones.
Every human ailment has a herb that works best. You just need the knowledge to know which herb is the right one to use.
Treating the sick is only one part of Dr. Ahmed's job. His greatest skill is his ability to read the desert landscape and find the rare plants he uses to make medicine. Some grow only once in a decade.
اسمها الكباف. يعني تلمسها بديك ساعة على طول من حالها، بديك ساعة له ساعة له. عشان أنا مثلا في واحد بيعطش اللي عنده السكر بيعطش، ليه بيشعل شوية مية؟ عشان النهرين دول بيصغروا بيكفلوا ما بيزدوش شيء. يعني عنده السكر عيال بالسكر. لكن عندما يحط المادة دي تحت اللسان ها تحت اللسان كده عمل بقي كله مر. يعني النقطة الواحدة من دول تعمل لك مر عالي، بس بعدها الاقي ريق كتير. يعني كنت كان واحد بالجبل مسافر وبعدين عطش ما فيش ميه وريقه نشف، ممكن يحط منها نقطتين في بقه يجيب له النهرين، شغل النهر تاني.
Dr. Ahmed prepares his medicine in his clinic, famous throughout Egypt. All his cures are derived from the 170 rare species unique to the Sinai Peninsula.
I have special feelings for herbs. I see them as something else. They contain medicinal secrets.
But now, as old age approaches, Dr. Ahmed has one mission: to pass his secrets on to a new generation before he dies.
Long ago, there wasn't a single tribe here who didn't have two healers, a man and a woman. Now, all we have left is one man, and that man is me. So if I die, there'll be no one left in herbal medicine.
Dr. Ahmed has found 6 local students to school in the science of herbal medicine. Like most young Bedouins today, they've never lived a nomadic life. He must teach them what Bedouin children once knew almost instinctively.
بصوا كلكم بصوا على البيض بيطلع زي الزيت عشان بعدين ما تقولوش احنا ما شفناش. بصوا الزيت خرج خلاص. كذي خف النار عنه شويه عشان تبدا الزيت يطلع. هذا الزيت كذي ممكن ايه تاخذ منه علامة المفاصل. خلاص جاهز.
Most Bedouin leave their desert communities in search of work as soon as they finish high school. Learning herbal medicine could give these young people a future in their Sinai home. But Dr. Ahmed's lessons are tough. They have to be, as he's teaching a tradition that was nearly lost.
أنا عاوز منكم يا بنات كل وحدة تجيب لي عشبة درستها قبل كذا، ما تمشي تجيب أي عشبة تكون درستها. تكون عشبة لنوع مرض معين. يلا تفضل. تعال انت يا ابوك انت جبت ايش كم نوع؟
جبت نوعين.
ها بس انت خلطتيه صح؟ بس انا ما تاخذهمش ببعضهم، انت حاطه نوع صح؟ طيب حطي دمع ذا وحاجه مش عرفتيها ما تقصيهاش ها؟ يلا.
Having knowledge of medicinal herbs is one thing, but possessing the survival skills to find them is another. A Bedouin healer must be at one with the landscape. Today, Dr. Ahmed is taking his boy students 100 miles into the wilderness of the desert once traveled by their grandfathers. They will have to make their own way home.
Our original customs have to be passed down as they are. So if there is an emergency or a disaster, then the students I'm teaching will know how to survive.
To ensure their safe return, Dr. Ahmed is buying the boys the most essential piece of all Bedouin equipment. Every 3 months, local tribes meet to buy and sell camels of all ages and sizes. The most reliable of desert laborers, camels have a working life of 25 years. They do not come cheap, but Dr. Ahmed has saved enough from donations to buy one for his students.
Buying a camel is not just one step forward, it's 10 steps forward. It means taking this project to another level.
ما شاء الله. ايش رايكم يا اولاد؟ عندما تنقوا جمل بص او تلع الحته ذي كان بياكلها بيحك ذي بتحكنها يكون بعير حلو. عايزين نباركوا عادي شوف ينفق كيف كانت دربكته حلوه ولا لا. ها؟ خلاص؟ متفقين يا ولاد؟ خلاص واحنا اتفقنا على البيع. خلاص ماشي.
Dr. Ahmed hands over more money than the boys have ever seen in their lives. With their brand new camel, Dr. Ahmed sends the boys home the hard way.
شوف السلمة ذيك؟ ايوه. تحدوا معها. طبوا وادي. استنى من الوادي سنان. انها تاخذ 3 ايام. لما تحدوا السلمة ذيك. وسندوا الوادي تلقوا مية. تاخذوا لكم مية منها بس خذوا بالكم من الطريق. ها؟ حتى كان عارفوا طريق معكم مش في الليل، ما تمشوا في الليل عشان طريق في الليل ما يتوهش عنكم، خافوا في النهار. في الليل مرحوا من الظلام يضرب مرحوا، ها؟ وتجيني في كاترين فوق ها؟ ماشي؟ خلاص أنا بستناكم. الواحد كان بيحلم بالموضوع ده من زمان وتحقق اليوم الحمد لله.
The true Bedouin doesn't know luxury or urban living. He doesn't know apartment blocks and cars. He only knows the camel. In this place, we have to be true Bedouins to be able to live. It's a harsh environment filled with mountains and valleys.
An everyday journey for their ancestors. For the boys, today this is a rite of passage. At his clinic, Dr. Ahmed awaits his male students. As ever, patients arrive from all over Egypt. Some travel for days to reach him.
واحدة ثالثة وخلاص. كذا خلاص إن شاء الله بالشفاء. وبعد 3 أيام نعمل الثاني. الحمد لله بالسلامة. الله يسلمك. وين تأخرتوا؟ قعدنا بالطريق. قعدتوا كيف قعدتوا؟ خفت من الضبعة؟ لا. ايه تعبوك؟ إن شاء الله يعني.
God willing, the other students will also soon become doctors and herbal healers. So that when I die content, knowing that I've left a legacy, that I've done something lasting.
A Bedouin to the core, Dr. Ahmed knows the value of his ancestors' knowledge. And at a time when many seek natural alternatives in medicine, perhaps his ancient methods are a resource for the future. Important not only to Egypt, but to the world. In the north, the Nile River fans out to form the delta. Long before satellite images, Egyptians likened it to a lotus flower. Here on the Mediterranean coast is Egypt's second greatest city and home to 4 million. Alexandria. Founded by Alexander the Great, annexed by the Romans, then the Arabs, this city was an ancient hub of trade. Today, at dawn and dusk, fishing boats dock in the harbor as they have for millennia. Once the catch is brought ashore, other time-honored customs follow. In the coffee shops on every street corner, backgammon, tea, and laughter among friends, a scene played out across Egypt at dusk. One night is different. The last night of Ramadan has its own special chaos as people rush to be with their families. It's Ali's last night in Cairo. He's finished work at the bakery, but he has some errands to run. He will not go home empty-handed. As the family's main provider, he's expected to bring new clothes for his 8 brothers and sisters. He must haggle, He sweated for every cent.
كمان
مش هينفع معاك 95 طب ولا 90 جنيه 80 شنطه محمد
His last task. Ali has his hair cut to look his best for his family, a tradition at the end of Ramadan. But with so little cash to spare, he also wants value for his money.
خلاص نويت على المكنه انت علي حاضر كده بقى
المكنه الدرجه
بس اهدى بقى بالمكنه حلوه كده بس انا مش زعلان ان انت هتشيلها بالمكنه كنا عايزين عشان يا علي هحط لك مكنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم طيب تعال علي
The day after Ramadan is known as Eid al-Fitr. At first light, the nation once again stops for prayer. It marks the beginning of the holidays, a time of forgiveness and thanksgiving celebrated by Muslims across Egypt. Ali has traveled all night. After 10 long months away from his village and his family, it's the welcome he wished for.
If it was up to me, I'd live in the village with my family, and I'd work and provide for them there. But the thing is, it's never been that simple. It's a great feeling when you've brought everyone their presents and greet them with a kiss on both cheeks.
Ali's wages have brought some peace for his family. He knows the importance of what he does.
If things were good, I wouldn't have let him go. I would have let him stay. But our situation needed it. We really needed it.
Ali's been the main breadwinner for 10 years. One day, one of his younger brothers will take over. Until then, he will carry on. For now, he can be proud. He is home and his family's hero. Atlas Egypt has glimpsed the lives of 6 Egyptians. There are some 80 million others. As the nation grapples with modernity, some things remain constant. For those who take the time to look beneath the surface, Egypt retains an endless capacity to surprise. The ancient past is a living thing and can give rise to conflict and pain. Behind the veils of tradition, there is often an independent spirit. There are countless ordinary people, young and old, who make extraordinary sacrifices. And in this country, what seems a way of the past may be the way of the future. One people, many passions. Egypt.